listening to Superpower Creatives on the Superpower Up podcast. The show that sparks the superpowers of musicians and artists to ignite change.
All the little men, will they get the chance to come back?
Hello, this is David Delmar, your host of Superpower Creatives, and you're listening to our episode, Conscious Free Song Creation. I believe everyone is a creator, and it's this inherent birthright that's the source of our superpowers. Stepping into this personal authority is scary, though. This show celebrates creatives that stay true to who they really are, making a living using their creative superpowers. The stories they share will excite and inspire listeners to do the same, making positive change in the world. I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today's show. He is such a musical talent, and his unique way of expressing his artistry made me an instant fan. Ed Roman is an award-winning singer-songwriter, performer, and multi-instrumentalist from Shelburne, Ontario, Canada. Blurring the lines between pop, rock, folk, and country music genres, Ed's uniquely crafted songs, and they are super uniquely crafted, I love them, have received regular rotation on more than 100 terrestrial radio stations across North America and more than 600 stations worldwide. Ed is a 2014 Artist Music Guild Award nominee, a 2014 International Music and Entertainment Association Award winner, and a 2018 nominee. And this list is so impressive. A two-time 2015 IMEA Award nominee, a 2015 and 16 Josie Show Awards winner, an Academia Awards winner, and a two-time Indie Music Channel Award winner. And he recently won a 2017 Radio Music Award for Best Americana Artist. His latest release is the critically acclaimed Red Omen at www.edroman.net. Ed, that is so impressive. My goodness, those are some cool awards. Congrats on all that. So, hello, welcome. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, David, I'm always happy to be on the show and talking about, power, creative superpowers.
Well, you have come to the right show then, brother, because that is what we're all about here, is that very thing. Well, it is great to have you here, and I was super excited to get into our talk a little bit. But just, hey, thanks for being the authentic artist you are and demonstrating for others what it's like when you're really truly being your true self in your art, and how you take that and make that into your life. And you are like the quintessential example of that. And I think that's just totally amazing. Well, today we're talking about our show, Conscious Free Song Creation. And in particular, what Jim thinks about conscious free song creation and how he potentially approaches his song creation process utilizing it. So I should say, Ed, sorry, called you the guy I was talking to this morning. So Ed, what is your creative superpower?
Well, I don't know. For all of a sudden, I want to say, Yoda didn't wear disco shoes, and I like disco shoes, sometimes. But I guess the authenticity of feeling out creativity is more like following a river, or at the same time letting the river pull you through its dimensions more so. And for me, life can be a really special place if you allow it to be that way. Mm-hmm. And even in my own personal perspectives, writing music for me or lyrics, that is a superpower in a way, because I relinquish so much in the process, and at the same time take in maybe less even than I'm releasing, but the release is that sort of reflection, let's say, of everything that's been kind of going on, and it comes in all these little pockets, these little pods, words and broken phrases. Mr. Tesla, you ain't got nothing on me. That was a lyric I wrote from a tune a little while back. And for me, people say, well, how do you write a song? Like, how do you sit down and do it? Is there some method? Is there some, like in the Dead Poets Society, where they're talking about what measures a good poem or sonnet, and you put it up against this graph. For me, that isn't a part of the equation. What it is like I said, the relinquishment of yourself through the process, you may get sparked and find that energy point and go, hey, I'm really excited about talking about this. I really want to write about this experience, this thing I've heard, or what I'm feeling. But what's so magical about it is that when you listen more than you think, you start to develop this philosophy through the process. Like I said, it almost pulls you. The river pulls you down it. You can't. It's hard to fight the river. So sometimes going with the flow is the best thing of all. And then there's that allowance for anything can happen. And, even in cross-referencing of ideas and genres. And I like that because it's like, we were talking off air and I was like, you're excited. What's going on in Canada? And it's like gardening. I know inevitably somewhere in my garden, there's going to be some cross-pollination going on. And I'm going to end up with some hybrid gourd somewhere between a zucchini and a squash. And I'm going to really like it. I'm going to love and understand the experience of how it all just sort of kinetically happened. And that's why I guess Yoda and the disco shoes came up, because it's like, as corny as it is, it's almost like the Force. It's like allowing, even as hard as it is to say, the negative to flow through you as you need to. As a result, you find the positive confluence on the other side. And again, it's the relinquishment of it, allowing it to occur and allowing it to happen. So I guess that's what it is for me. My superpower would be, the writing. And not only that, like we were talking off air, overcoming that in my own personal struggle of being labeled a dyslexic and going through the process of having a hard time academically and things that are like that. It doesn't mean that creativity can't flourish just because it doesn't fit into a framework. That's not what creativity is about.
Yeah, framework and creativity. There's a skeleton, and then within inside that skeleton is creativity. And if creativity chooses to go way out of that, then that's what creativity does. Like you say, it's sort of like the creativity is the river, and it is the flow, and it's a powerful source. And I love that answer. Like, I'm going to go back and look at my notes because I'm going to implement already some of that in my own creation process, because I love that. That's just, I would have loved to put it that way. You mentioned something about dyslexia and how it's affected your life. We're going to cut to a break real quick because I want to come back and I want to hear about what's going on in your life with dyslexia and how you're helping kids right now with some amazing, super exciting projects you have going on with that. So, before we do take a quick break, though, Ed, I want to ask people. I want to ask you where people can go to find out more about you.
Sure. Well, edroman.net, as you mentioned off the top of the show, is where you can go. My social networking buttons are there. If you're on Facebook and you go to Ed Roman, the video, what we're talking about and this project, as you mentioned, and everything that's going on with the Dyslexia Society and the new video releases is all on there. But as I mentioned, through the website, you'll also get my Twitter, you'll get my Instagram, you'll get my YouTube channel, and it's all Special Ed Roman wherever you go, whether it's Twitter or it's Facebook or it's Instagram or whatever. So come by and check out what's going on. I'm really excited to present this stuff to people.
Absolutely, people, and do you got to go check it out. That's outstanding. All right, so we've been talking with Ed Roman today about conscious-free song creation. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to stay with Ed on this cool little journey and let you out there listening know how you can start to utilize what he's sharing to improve your own songwriting.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
We're back. You're listening to Superpower Creatives. And today we're talking with Ed Roman on our episode, Conscious Free Song Creation. So Ed, I'd love to circle back to where we left off a bit, just to kind of touch base with the song creation process and what creativity is, and how you have taken that mindset that you shared and how you've created your latest work with this exciting video that you have, and how you're helping kids with dyslexic. Tell us a little bit about what's going on right now with that.
Great question, David. Well, again, where does the song come from? And as a dyslexic, words are fascinating to me. Where they come from, why they exist, how they were put together. Mm-hmm. And looking at my own name, and if you like to play with jumbles or anagrams, it actually creates the anagram Red Omen with a vowel slip, obviously. It's kind of like, Adrian Marcato and Roman Castevet. I mean, anagrams are everywhere. And I thought, wasn't it interesting that, when they say a dyslexic looks at things, they look at it in fragmented bits or backwards. And here, by even looking at my own name, I created the song title and the story of me. Yeah. A story of me as a kid, some of the allegory that exists in my life as mixed in with fantasy and things that sort of like, here's the thing about dyslexia and being labeled as a dyslexic, and anything I think that we put sort of this negative connotation on when we don't totally understand it, is that you develop a self-esteem issue. And for me, it was compounded by I was a heavy kid. So then all of a sudden you're having all these troubles in school with reading and writing, and I was like horrified. It was like I would be sweating, having to read in class. And I knew a lot of other people that I'm pretty sure struggled with these exact kinds of things. And even in the tune in the last verse, it says, I didn't believe in myself if no one else. Belief in yourself and having that as your superpower sometimes is your greatest achievement of all, because it's the sheer persistence behind the passion that we do what we do, why we do what we do, that eventually gets us there. We're so concerned with a push button mentality in the 21st century of instant change. And as a gardener, I know planting a seed, you don't bear fruit the next day. and music works the same way. This video itself, in its essence, the album is 2 years old. I looked for almost just as long to find Nelson Diaz from There Be Creative Dragons Media in New York City. It was a 3-month working process, from storyboards to coming up with the storyline, how everything would evolve. Now the process of working with Positive Dyslexia here in Canada, which is the national organization. That's Sue Hall out in British Columbia and Beth Shear at the facilitating office here in Ontario. And then Ron Davis at the Davis Dyslexia Society in the US. We're like, well, hey, let's tell this guy's story, because they're so about the positive motivation behind education and learning. Because again, as I mentioned, the framework is there, but at the same time, not everybody fits into it. And I know as a teacher of music for almost 24 years, you have to come at information with different people in different ways and at different speeds as a result of how people learn. So why should it be any different in the academic world? And I think then we create a stronger, healthier person somehow,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you say it great there. I mean, it's you have the way things are done, that kind of become sort of like ritual-like. It's just so automatic. And with how our education system, when something becomes automatic and just almost ritual-like, and it's not a good process. It's not something you want to let kind of cement into stone, because it's not helping anything. It's actually maybe having the reverse effect. And what I hear you say is, your experience growing up was just that. It's, this common myth of what people think dyslexia is, and sort of the connotations of negativity that they attach to it, and how that can really have a dramatic effect on a youth, as they're trying to develop their own internal confidence and strength, when you're already having these negative forces against you, and nothing that you even asked for, but people are just kind of going with something that's automatic, and they don't even understand how much it's affecting the child. How have you been able to persevere in your life with something like what dyslexia affected with something like dyslexia and how it affected your childhood, how have you been able to find that deeper connection to your own knowing and your purpose, and staying still connected to your art and persevering, like you put it?
Wow, wonderful question, David. It's like people like my mom or my wife or my friends that believe in me and believe what I'm doing. And my mom, when she would have the proverbial, come into the school because Edward is da-da-da-da-da, it wasn't argumentative, but it was definitely some sort of a conversation about, well, like, my son wants to learn. He's interested in learning. He's excited about learning. I mean, I can't, stop him from asking questions and wondering how to do things. So this is wrong, what you're saying, that he has a disability, that he's not, I think it was even in those intellectual sort of like realizations and conversations I had with my mom, like, she's like, you have a gift. You love doing what you do. Pursue it. She may not have totally understood it, but at the same time, she was like, well, he loves it. And to me, my grandfather would say things like to me, if you're not whistling when you go to work, you're going to the wrong job. I love
awesome.
I love music, and I've always had my hand in some aspect of what it is, whether it's teaching or playing, performing, cover bands, my own projects. All of it has sort of been a part of my life. Even like the jobs that I've had teaching in different locations, they've all been related to music. So that's really what it was. It was that positive motivation, and my mom trying to point that out, even though I worked as hard as I did and only still got a C+. But I accelerated at music, so I was like, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. It'll start to pan out.
Well, I love that. And I mean, it's just a testament to how the dualities of life are, and how you have a certain mindset where, it's all about, speeding things up with whether society or, kindergarten kids, they should be, you're getting them stuff you'd give to a first grader or something, already burning them out kind of thing. And it's just like everyone's sort of allowing themselves to get caught up in time, and time's saying, okay, well, I'm going to speed you up because you're just like letting me do it. You're not taking any personal control over your life. And my whole thing is to speed things up, because as evolution goes, time gets quicker and faster, things move faster. And if you're not going to do anything about it, well, I'm going to continue to do what I do. And it's going to affect you in a way that you may not like. Are you sure you're okay with that? And I love what you're sharing here. It's like, hey, let's slow this thing down. You don't have to be pulled into that. The creation process flows wanting to pull you into something that's much more pure, much more you, as opposed to those external forces that don't have your best interest in hand.
Whoa, so prolific. And you said something even more prolific before, which is like that sort of arbitrary idea of, well, this is the framework and we just kind of go with it now and don't think about it. It's the same thing with food and agriculture. I can't tell you how many times I've shared food from my own garden with people, or taken it to people, or talked about my experience of growing food. Because to me, yes, I can go to the grocery store and I know the butcher, and I know the guy that owns the grocery store, and I've talked to them before and everything. But at the same time, that love relationship and the tactical effort that you've done this, it's sustaining you somehow. The enjoyment level, and that's the thing. As arbitrary as it sounds, it exists everywhere depending on how we look at it. And it's not like being simple about the idea. I take pride in the most basic of things, and you'll start to find that there's this elevated, heightened sense of existence as a result of it, even if it means tying your shoes differently in the morning. It's all a big part of it.
It is. I love how you put it too, because it doesn't seem like it's a hard process. I mean, it's actually simple, but the simplicity only comes in the allowance of it, the allowance to have yourself remember that, you know what, you are already whole, full, and complete. There's nothing wrong with you. You are enough, and to start to sort of harvest those new mindsets about one's self-worth and everything. And I think you just shared how people can really understand that, like, hey, listen, adversity is everywhere. It's around every corner, but how you choose to how do you choose to react or respond to adversity is how you're going to enjoy your life, all by your choosing. And I think you've shared great ways on how people really can just understand and better be in touch with their true self and their own lives.
Man. And in that simplicity exists the complexity.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's exactly it too. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, well, let's share a little bit about this video and about the dyslexic kind of movement, this little movement kind of that you're starting. I really would love for the listeners to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, let me tell you, David.
Please do.
Please do. I'm really happy to be working with Nelson Diaz, as I mentioned. He's a force himself. You've seen Kung Fu Panda 2, SpongeBob SquarePants, a bunch of stuff with Disney that he's done over the years.
Pretty big stuff.
I mean, I'm humbled, and he's humbled that he's working with me. So we both have this really found respect and mutual kismet, inside of what we're doing. When I saw his work, I was like, it's so it has this. I don't want to use I hate putting hey, you sound like this and you sound like that. But it was like Schoolhouse Rocks meets the Flintstones meets this more modern 21st century edge to the approach of the work outside of what we know him doing. Like I said, SpongeBob SquarePants and things. So, when he took it on, I was like, it's like a dream come true. And after knocking on so many doors for so long, having that kind of a person on the project was big. And it's almost look, I had a crying moment even online where I'm like, dude, if I could hook up a cable to my brain and the things that I was seeing in my imagination, because the storyboards I sent him were these crazy little scribbles that looked like it came out of high school, but it was enough for him to be able to sort of forge these really amazing characters, colors, movement, direction, and everything. And then I started to think, look, how can this really, like I said before, be bigger than myself, Nelson, There Be Dragons Creative Media, Michael Stover, anybody that's helping me talk about this? And as we were talking, dyslexics are labeled in this sort of thing, just like people with ADD or other things that are going on, autism.
Yeah.
How do I wield this in a really positive way? So I reached out through my management, who helped me out, Michael. We contacted some people through the Davis Dyslexia Society and then here in Canada, Positive Dyslexia, to use my story in some kind of a way as sort of a mechanism for either change in terms of a new push, a national push to talk about bringing the Davis method into education, especially preliminary education. And at the same time, I was made aware that, the Davis method is already being used in the Netherlands, in the UK, France, all over the EU, but it's not here in the Western Hemisphere unless you can afford to pay for it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have subsidies. So why not put some sort of a campaign together, which we're in the midst of doing, to raise a whole bunch of money for these tutoring programs that kids can't afford to go to? And they were like, yes. And I'm like, yes. And it was like, click, click, click. And they want to help cross-promote anything that's going on. And they're going to be on their websites. It'll be in all their social media and publication work that they're doing. And I'm going to get to tell my story and hopefully bring more awareness to what this is. Because to me, as a teacher, even as long as I've been, I know education is just as important, as crazy as this sounds, as food and agriculture. It creates a healthy mind, body, spirit, and everything else. So I see it as a win-win. And I'm so happy to give back in this way because it has this superpower kind of vindication where many people said to me, you won't. And I said, I will. And here I am today. I am. And it's been a struggle, just like anything we do in our lives. But like Bob Marley said, harder the battle, come the sweeter the victory, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like the adversity advantage. You have to understand adversity to gain the advantage over those who would otherwise choose to let adversity take over their lives. And it sounds like for you, that just was never really an option, and I can really respect that because I know that adversity advantage processes, especially on both sides. Tell me something here, Ed. What stories have you had people share with you with the outreach that you've already created? Are there any stories out there of where you've shared or a time you've taught with a student, something that they've shared about somehow you sharing your story and how the connection with dyslexia creates a connection, creates that synergy? Is there something you've experienced with somebody that you want to share that can kind of just give us a little more kind of a juicy foundation to your passion to this dyslexic movement you're creating and how it's affected somebody somehow because of the work you're doing?
Man, you ask wonderful questions, David.
Oh, thanks.
You know, I don't want to get all emotional, but that's
sure.
what life is about. But you know,
as
a teacher, you get to meet a lot of really interesting people and kids and experience a lot of really great things. And then, you know, some kids go off to college and university and you're crying at recital because you won't see them again. And sometimes they stay your friends because they do, and they're almost like family, like your own kids.
Yeah.
And they're young adults and they're out in the world now and they're playing. But again, a passion is what I think this story is about. And I had a student, and I remember all right away, the parent would, a lot of parents would always charge lessons or things that I was doing with my son or daughter is so-and-so, they're this way, they're that way, and already kind of preconditioning me to what I may experience, as opposed to me experiencing the child and understanding what they want to learn and how they want to learn. So I try to listen. And I take it.
Yeah.
I take it in, but I really try to, let's say, leave that at the door. Yeah. And I had this one student, and 3 brothers were coming to me for lessons, and the mother had said to me, so and so, he's on medication and he acts up at school and da 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 da. So when he comes to you, he may be a little funny because he's coming off of his medication and da 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 da. Mm. And when he started coming, he was still kind of taking his stuff, but as it sort of went on in the year, he stopped. And I said to him, I said, hey, you have these little 5-minute conversations before class or whatever. Why is it that you're not taking your medication now that when you come to my classes? And he just looked at me and said, because you make it interesting. And it hit me really, really hard. Not like I'm trying to blow smoke up my own rear end, but yeah. I remember that exact passion being shared by my grandfather, my dad, my mom still, and it drives me as a person. Yeah, it really pushes me, and it occurred to me then that even the struggles I had as a dyslexic and the kind of teachers that I had, especially growing up in the 1970s, that didn't understand it, like you're going to be a failure, borderline, going to be failing summer school, like comments that were like that continually, like, what are you, stupid? That for me really changed how I thought about education and what a good educator was. And then when I had the opportunity to do that, I thought, this is what I'm not going to be. I never said this is what I am going to be, but being the best listener that I can in the situation also helps me to be a better teacher. So so for me, that simple moment of realization of this is about passion, and this is why I have kids coming to me or wanting to learn or getting messages from people like, that class that we had, my mind is still like going. It's like food for thought for like months. And I'm like, good, use it. Even the stories that I heard about other musicians in the past that would do those kinds of things with people, like Dizzy Gillespie would do that, pull somebody in off the street if they had a question, start scribbling down theory stuff on a napkin in a restaurant so they understood what was going on. That's what I really get off on. And why I'm even fueled by doing this, because I think after talking to so many people about education and the framework of what it is and the struggles that people are having, I that's how I think I can make a difference. The music has that ability to wield itself that way. And that's the big spiritual monster mountain paycheck.
And yeah, a paycheck with with a with a great reward, a great return for the investment that created that paycheck. And I mean, it's that connection, the way you shared how you affect lives and how those lives are affecting you, and how that ripple effect affects the world. And people don't just sometimes don't understand the grasp of how things in this universe work with the ripple effect that happens from our heart when we choose to genuinely show a connection with another and let that love power take hold. And it's really awesome to hear about it through you and through your experiences, Ed. Very, very cool stuff, very, very powerful stuff, and very inspiring stuff. And it's just amazing, man. I'll be thinking about this throughout the day, I can promise you. Well, before we close out the show, let's remind listeners where they can go to find out a little bit more about you, Ed.
edroman.net is where you can go, and you can check out anything I'm doing there, any stuff in my news feed that's going on. All my social networking buttons are there, so check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out my YouTube channel. All the different videos that I've put over the last 4 or 5 years are on there. Get the new album, Amazon, Red Omen, iTunes. You can order it from CD Baby. I'm so happy to bring this new video to everybody, so follow along. It's been a crazy ride.
Well, and one that's only going to get crazier in the good kind of crazy. That's for dang sure. I can tell that already. Well, yeah, some folks you definitely got to jump on this ride with that. He's entering into some pretty amazing space here, and you'll want to tag along for sure. I can promise you. Well, thank you, Ed, for joining me today and for being here. It's been so fun to co-create with you today in this space, and I want to just acknowledge your unique voice as an artist, and the powerful message your music has for people to gain new awareness about their lives, and this amazing stuff you're doing to help kids with dyslexia. It's truly humbling for me to be amongst that process and to witness it today, and I'm truly grateful. And I want to, of course, thank the listeners as well. And until next time, be bold, stay true, and unveil your creative superpowers.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the superpower quiz today.
I get up and I show